ZIDERA. This acronym stands for the Zimbabwe Democracy and Economic Recovery Act, a U.S. law that provides for restrictions and conditions on assistance to Zimbabwe and sanctions against individuals undermining democratic processes in Zimbabwe. Discussion and analysis. Munangagwa's demands and accusations. President Emerson Munangagwa's demand from the United States to provide proof of allegations regarding smuggling gold and other valuables points to a significant diplomatic standoff. The accusations extend beyond economic misconduct to severe charges of human rights violations, including the murder of activists and election rigging. These allegations, if proven true, represent a grave concern regarding governance and human rights in Zimbabwe. Munangagwa's government's call for the removal of ZIDERA sanctions is predicated on the argument that these sanctions adversely affect the general populace of Zimbabwe more than the intended political elites. Sanctions can indeed have wide-reaching impacts on an economy, potentially exacerbating poverty and limiting access to essential goods and services for ordinary citizens. Amnesty International and Itai Zamara. The demand by Amnesty International to investigate the disappearance and alleged murder of Itai Zamara, a known critic of the Zimbabwean government and a human rights activist, underscores ongoing concerns about political freedom and safety for government critics in Zimbabwe. Zamara's case has drawn international attention to issues of enforced disappearances and political suppression in the country. United States position. The United States' claim of possessing sufficient proof against individuals on their sanctions list for involvement in corruption and human rights violations is a critical aspect of this diplomatic confrontation. For sanctions to be effective and justified, they must be based on credible evidence of wrongdoing. The U.S. stance suggests a confidence in their intelligence and the righteousness of their policy actions towards Zimbabwe. Analysis. This situation highlights the complex interplay between governance, human rights, and international diplomacy. While Zimbabwe demands the lifting of sanctions to alleviate economic pressures on its citizens, the international community, represented by entities like the United States and Amnesty International, seeks accountability and improvements in governance and human rights practices. The effectiveness of sanctions as a tool for promoting political change is widely debated. Critics argue they often hurt the most vulnerable populations and can entrench the regimes they aim to influence by rallying nationalist sentiment against perceived external interference. On the other hand, proponents see them as a necessary means of exerting international pressure on governments to change their behavior without resorting to military intervention. For Zimbabwe, navigating this international scrutiny while addressing internal demands for reform and economic improvement poses a significant challenge for President Mnangagwa's administration.